Welcome, fight fans! You boundaries of violence outside the UFC octagon and straight into the circle intended for bare knuckle fights. Everyone loves a good fist fight, and today, we're taking a look at the top 10 knockouts from the Bare Knuckle Fighting Championship promotion in 2023. Bandage your hands and cover your head because knockouts are much more common here than in the cage. So let's get right into it. The Bare Knuckle audience, together with MMA fans, couldn't wait for April 29th to see what kind of fight the former UFC fighters would give at BKCF 41. Luke Rockhold was making his bare knuckle debut, while Mike Perry was already well warmed up in the promotion. The former middleweight champion had the advantage in his size, reach, and fighting technique. But this was not an MMA match, and Mike Perry was simply made for this sport. Rockhold held up well in the New World. He even managed to shake Perry with a counterguard cross, but Mike quickly recovered. When Luke started receiving the first clean punches, he quickly realized he had made a mistake by signing the contract. Mike's body shots played their part whenever the opponent tried to survive using the clinch. However, the main event in Colorado ended a minute before the end of the second round when Rockhold realized that Mike had broken his tooth. So, Perry won by TKO and sent Luke to retirement in the second round of their contest. Indeed, we didn't see a brutal knockout, but this is one of the memorable matches from 2023. At BKCF 44, which took place in Montana, another debutant appeared, and his name is Dorian Long. In this fight, his opponent Mark Johnson was looking for an opportunity to return to the winning streak, but it did not go as planned. Dorian proved to be a fighter with sharp blows who finds his angles quickly, and already in the first round he landed quality punches. Mark used the opponent's pressure and sat him down on one of the counters. Long continued with bombastic blows and evasive movements, and Johnson turned out to be as tough as they come. However, the opponent was more precise with his fists, and a few seconds before the end of the second round, he threw an amazing front hook that shook Mark's consciousness and sent him to the floor. When throwing the jab, Johnson dropped his right hand, which offered Dorian plenty of room to celebrate his debut. Marcus Brimage is another UFC fighter who appeared on the BKFC against debutant Trevor Luckan, 10 years younger. Trevor had a successful amateur MMA career with 5 finishes, but he opted for a more simple yet brutal sport. Marcus, on the other hand, has been in the fighting game since 2007, and after the end of his UFC journey, he was left looking for scraps in other promotions. It takes courage to enter a bare-knuckle fight against a former UFC fighter without professional fighting experience, especially on the debut, but Luckan has shown that the circled ring is where he belongs. After the first bell, the fight started explosive, and Marcus found himself on the floor after the first 10 seconds. As soon as he got up, the exchanges continued, and after a couple of right and left hooks, Trevor's fist landed straight on the head of Brimage and sent him to the canvas again. Except that after this blow, he could not recover, even while the referee was counting it down. Young debutant Trevor made a quality statement at BKFC 35 in South Carolina with a quick finish. Dominant light heavyweight champion Lorenzo Hunt knocked out Mark Richmond in the third defense of his title and rightfully won the Knockout of the Year award. The event in Albuquerque brought 11 knockouts in 12 fights, and the quick scrap in the main match was the icing on the cake for the already excited crowd. Everything happened in a minute and a half, and the interim champion Richmond threatened the reigning champ with devastating blows at the start, getting the best out of the exchanges. He dominated Lorenzo, taunting him in the process and throwing him to the floor 30 seconds before the end of the first round. This was followed by an incredible twist when the champion stood up and completely shut down Mark with the first punch he threw to defend his belt. The only thing more chilling than this knockout was the way Lorenzo was left standing in the same spot, looking straight into the eyes of his unconscious opponent. The rapid progress of BKFC promotion brings us fights from Thailand for the 5th time. The event was headlined by the legendary Shanaki and Buao Kao, who clashed in a special rules bare-knuckle Thai fight. However, their spotlight quickly shifted to the fight for the vacant BKFC Thailand Featherweight Championship, which ended with a breathtaking knockout. Home fighters Kritsana Franchesco and Serun lit up the face of their nation, and their use of the Thai clinch in the fight was more than obvious and different from what bare-knuckle fans are used to. Sharp punches rang out through 3 rounds from both sides. Serun used his long reach while Serun stayed low and tried to close the distance by constantly moving forward, throwing powerful punches as he went. Just when Serun both seemed to be getting the better of the exchanges in the third round, Kritsana came in with a merciless left hook that shut down his opponent on the spot. BKFC got a new champion, and Serun couldn't bring himself to stand up even during the announcement of the winner. The BKCF 56 event was brought on the fields of Dry, Utah with 4 championship bouts and 8 knockouts. But the best one came early in the prelims fights. Trevor Bradshaw is another debutant on our list who excelled with a knockout in the first round against Troy Dennison, who is also making his debut. Fortunately, the MMA veterans gave us some excitement before ending the match early, even though they opened it much more patiently than the others. As time passed, they became more fiery, with Bradshaw holding the middle of the ring, and then 50 seconds before the end, he knocked his opponent down with a brutal blow. Dennison barely got up, although he shouldn't have, because Trevor rushed in even more brutally with a siege of blows in a hurry to finish off his opponent, which he eventually succeeded in, and the referee waved it off. Someone's debut had to be ruined, and Trevor Bradshaw made sure it wasn't his. Eric Lozano proved to be a knockout specialist in his MMA career with 12 knockouts in 14 wins, but a career with 23 defeats led him to bare knuckle fighting. His opponent, 10 years younger but much more experienced in this field, was Franchesco Ricci, former BKFC middleweight champion with 5 wins and 1 loss. Ricci had the reach advantage and statistically should have taken the win, but when you're fighting a knockout artist, just 1 second is enough. After mutual testing and several short exchanges consisting of single and double punches, Lozano throws his right hand over his opponent's shoulder and nails him to the ground before they can break a sweat, and before the first drop of blood falls. Overhand right sent by Eric finished the job in the blink of an eye, showing yet again the excitement this sport offers. We bring you another top knockout at the prelims, provided by Michael Laramore and Daniel Gary at the BKFC 47 event in front of a crowd from Florida. Michael Laramore enters the ring without gloves for the first time, and his opponent, known as the Black Mamba, is trying to pull his career out of the abyss after 2 consecutive losses. The fight, which was supposed to last 5 rounds of 2 minutes, did not even wait for the first bell because the guys immediately started to aim for the head. Just 10 seconds into the first round, Laramore slips on Gary's rear hook and shuts the opponent out of the game with a perfectly placed left hook. Definitely a knockout that needs to be watched multiple times. Daniel was hurt and couldn't get up, and Michael went home with a victory in his debut, and only one received a punch. Only when you watch bare knuckle fights you realize what a blessing it is to walk out of the ring with a clean face. BKFC travels the world, and their 54th event, which took place in Bulgaria, brought fighters who made sure that knockouts fell in the second half of 2023 as well. The first knockout of the event happened in the fight between Felipe de Silva Maia and the fighter performing in front of his audience, Martin Stoikov. Maia obviously knew what he had come for and clearly did not feel the pressure due to the enemy's terrain, and it took him 8 seconds to send the fighter from Sofia to the first knockdown. Martin did not give up, and the fight continued as if they owed each other money. They hugged a little, fought a little, and lasted until the first bell. The Brazilian again needed only 10 seconds to secure another knockdown, after which the Bulgarian quickly recovered. Both men continued swinging, providing an exciting match, and then Martin also got a knockdown. De Silva got up and came back with additional pressure and big shots, to which Martin responded with full force. 10 seconds before the end, with a great body-head combination from the pocket, the Brazilian flattened the local fighter, creating an upset in front of his opponent's audience. The last event in 2023, headlined by Mike Perry and Eddie Alvarez in the main fight of the evening, will be remembered for one quality knockout and a brutal bout. Esteban Rodriguez and Keegan Vandermeer opened the match as if their lives depended on it. They started violently so that even the clinch was not a safe zone. They literally swung the entire first round as if they had infinite stamina. Clean shots landed every second, but neither guy gave any signs of surrender, and incredibly, we didn't see a single knockdown after the open fire in the first round. Finally, after a minute of the second round, which opened and went as brutally as the first, in one of the many exchanges they had from the clinch, Rodriguez managed to vitally hurt Vandermeer with a pair of uppercuts from which he could not recover. The guys ended the year in the true spirit of a bare-knuckle fight by providing a sick fight and ruthless knockout. Today's content was particularly violent because we know that's how you like it the most. BKFC promotion is growing every day, as is your MMA Corner TV channel, which will eventually start covering all the biggest martial arts organizations for your regular dose of good quality fights.